In the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, Mrs. Afton is still a character we haven't met yet. Or have we? Welcome back, my fellow gamers. This is Top 10 Gaming, and I am your host, Amanda McKnight. Today we'll be exploring the potential origins of the mysterious Mrs. Afton, as we count down the top 10 Mrs. Afton theories. Let's get into it. Number 10. Mrs. Afton's appearance. What does Mrs. Afton look like anyways? Well, we don't really know for sure, but many have theorized that she would resemble her daughter, Elizabeth, and that Elizabeth's distinct features, such as her bright colored hair and her green eyes, actually come from Mrs. Afton. But of course, while this is a good working theory for Mrs. Afton's appearance, it should be noted that, not all of your genetic appearance actually comes from your family in such a manner. In fact, while perhaps more unlikely, it is possible you could resemble someone in your family from previous generations. So it is possible that Elizabeth looks more like, her grandmother or her aunt than her own direct mother. And if that's the case, then we really have no idea what Mrs. Afton looks like, which means she could show up in the story of FNAF at any time, and we might not even recognize her. Number 9. Mrs. Afton is a robot. Is Mrs. Afton even a person? Is she real? How do we know for certain? Here's the thing. We don't. As far as we know, she could not even be human. Mrs. Afton and the entire Afton family could all be lifelike, humanoid animatronics made by William Afton. So here's the thing, there isn't actually a ton of evidence to support this theory for Mrs. Afton, but we do have some evidence that suggests that the kids, or at least Michael Afton, could be a robot. After all, it would help to explain how he survived being scooped, even after he didn't have any insides anymore and he vomited up all of the animatronics within him. So while we haven't really seen Mrs. Afton yet, it is possible that she was merely an animatronic that William made to act as a mother to his children, and that in the end she was not killed or even left him, but instead either escaped or was dismantled by him. What do you think? And friends, before we move on to the next spot on this list, be sure to do all the things like, comment, subscribe. Every time you click like, another FNAF clue is uncovered. It's true. We get a step closer to solving these mysteries every time you click like. Number 8. There is no Mrs. Afton. Never mind the question of whether or not Mrs. Afton is even human, how about, does she even exist? Huh? I suspect the answer to this question could be that she does not exist. After all, the main reason we believe that she does exist is because of William Afton's children. I mean, they must have a mother, right? That's what we all think. But what if they don't have a mother? What if in fact they are themselves animatronics? Then they wouldn't need a mother, yeah? We don't have any super definitive evidence as to Mrs. Afton's existence anyways. All we have is a lot of symbolism and the presence of her potential children to imply that she does exist, or at least did exist at some point. Number 7. Mrs. Afton is not the mother. Or more specifically, not the mother to all of William Afton's children. We don't really know at this point if she's even the mother to any of his children. Though we assume, because we assume these are biological children, that they must have a mother. It is possible that Mrs. Afton left William after the death of Elizabeth, and that Elizabeth was not the last child to be born. We believe that Foxy Bro, aka Michael Afton, is the older brother to Crying Child, who does not yet have a confirmed name, but could be called Evan based on information gathered from the 6th Fazbear Frights book story, The Real Jake. But we don't really even know for sure about this, and we don't really know when Elizabeth was born. Though I have always assumed she was born sometime after Michael, but she could be the oldest sibling who perhaps even died before Michael was born. Who knows? All I'm saying is, with William being painted as such a sinister figure, it seems unlikely that he would be able to keep a partner around to have 3 children with, especially with him being painted as a distant or perhaps even irresponsible father. So not only is he a murderer, but he's also someone that just wasn't around. So I feel like, how do you even keep a partner when that's your life? I don't know. Maybe he has many other skills, maybe he's a really good cook or something. I don't know. What would William Afton's dating resume look like? That's what I want to know. I want to know his dating profile. Number 6. Mrs. Afton died in a car crash. This is a theory that many people actually have clung to throughout the development of the franchise and evolution of the lore, despite the fact that we have no evidence to support this theory. I just want to be clear, I don't think there's any evidence to support this theory. However, it's a popular headcanon that has been continuously supported by fans who just are fans of the idea and this tragic fate, I suppose, for Mrs. Afton. The idea seems to have come from a FNAF song and music video for It's Been So Long by The Living Tombstone that seems to be focused on the perspective of Mrs. Afton. In the song, Mrs. Afton talks about regretting abandoning her children and leaving them behind. She sings that she can't wait for the cliff at the end of the river, implying that she took her own life driving off a cliff or potentially throwing herself off of one after the guilt of her children's fate, and possibly the guilt that she feels for William's actions and his other victims. Number 5. Mrs. Afton is Vanessa. I mean, at this point, I'm not as sure about this theory, but it basically is founded on emails discovered in the FNAF mobile AR game Special Delivery. Here there is a user by the name of Ness that many believe is actually a stand-in for Vanessa, while one of her co-workers seems to really like Vanessa, possibly developing romantic feelings for her. It is revealed that she has flowers delivered to her by someone assumed to be her boyfriend. This potential boyfriend is not named William or even Bill, which is sometimes a short form for William, but some still think this could be William Afton just using an alias, and that Vanessa may be the wife and mother of his children that we've been looking for. She could have met William while working for the Freddy Fazbear franchise, and also be the same Vanessa who is working as a security guard in Security Breach, as this Ness also gets transferred to the security department. See what I'm saying? That would likely have to mean, however, that Security Breach is a prequel game, not a sequel set in the present day, as we've kind of been led to believe thus far. So this theory has merit, but is a little rocky overall, because yeah, there's lots of contradictions in it. Still, if it happened, I'd go with it. I could accept it as facts. Number 4. Mrs. Afton is Delilah. Delilah is a character who appeared in the Fazbear Frights book and story titled 1:35 AM. In this story, Delilah is a divorced woman who has always dreamt of having the perfect child, and while out shopping she finds a doll that perfectly matches the child that she had pictured in her mind. The doll even has a name similar to the one she had intended to pick for her own child. Ella. That's the name of the doll, not the perfect name for her child, but it's close enough, so she's like, I'm into this. She buys the doll, but its alarm clock feature malfunctions, and after tossing the doll out because of this, it continues to haunt her. Some think that Delilah could be a stand-in for Mrs. Afton, who perhaps divorced William, but tossed out any ties to him, and this was her doom. Or perhaps he himself employed animatronics she had taken possession of following the divorce to torment her, thereby causing her to go insane and eventually die like Delilah does in the story, dying herself in a vent from exhaustion. Number 3. Mrs. Afton died in a vent. Based on the previous theory, people have also interpreted Delilah's symbolism for Mrs. Afton in a more literal sense. And if Delilah is actually Delilah Afton, I don't know if that would actually be her name. I guess if we're going literally though, we're gonna say Delilah Afton. Then her death in the vent from exhaustion would also be the death of Mrs. Afton, because she is Mrs. Afton. Man, what a way to go, by the way. There is of course the link from Sister Location, where Hand Unit tells you the story of someone being found dead in the vents. Fans have connected these two dots together, assuming that this is what the Fazbear Fright story 1:35 AM is also referring back to with its vent death. If that is true, it would mean that Mrs. Afton, aka Delilah, actually died at Sister Location, or what would become Sister Location, as the building was under construction at the time of her death. Now, in order for us to believe this, we'd kind of have to dismiss some facts. What are those facts? Well, we already know other maintenance workers died in Sister Location, which could mean the person found in the vent more likely was one of those people, but just earlier on, obviously before we got there. Or whoever was doing the protagonist's job previously could have also died in the vents, because, you know, who was doing our job before we get there? Did they quit or did they die? Also, in 1:35 AM, the building that Delilah is drawn to and dies in the vents of is above ground, whereas Sister Location we know is an underground facility, so there's that to consider. Number 2. The search for Mrs. Afton. What if in Sister Location you aren't actually looking for Elizabeth, but instead you're meant to be looking for your mother? What if you came to the facility knowing somehow that your mother had disappeared there? Perhaps Mrs. Afton went to seek out William to tell him she was leaving him for all of the pain that he had caused her, and because of the death of Elizabeth, or because she was just led to believe that Elizabeth went missing. She was like, I think this is suspicious, so I'm gonna leave you. Not willing to let her go, perhaps William killed her and put her soul within Ballora, and you are actually there to find and free your mother. Along the way you find out the truth about Elizabeth and I guess seek to free her too, which sort of you end up doing, but not in the way that you intended, as Circus Baby and Ballora are still bonded to the souls of your family members, your sister and your mother respectively. Number 1. Mrs. Afton is Clara. In the FNAF game sister location we get to watch soap opera episodes as the protagonist of the game every time we successfully complete a shift, which personally is one of my favorite things in that game. The episodes that we watch are from a show called The Immortal and the Restless, which centers around a couple, Vlad and Clara. Vlad is a vampire and Clara is a human. Clara is convinced that the child that she has is Vlad's, but Vlad seems to refuse to take any responsibility for this child. He claims it is not actually his, despite the fact that the child seems to already be developing vampiric mannerisms, if you will. Many believe, due to Clara's resemblance to Elizabeth Afton, that she is meant to be a stand-in for William's wife and Elizabeth's mother. You'll notice that Vlad wears purple, like the purple guy, William Afton, and Clara wears green, actually matching Elizabeth's eye color, so there's some color themes going on here, and I feel like Scott Cawthon loves color themes, so we can definitely read into this. If this is true, it could imply that the two were actually separated when their first child was born and had a rocky relationship, with William refusing to step up and accept responsibility as a parent, and Mrs. Afton unhappy for most of their marriage. And it's possible that instead of them actually being married, they were just in a relationship when Mrs. Afton, whatever her first name is, became pregnant with their child. I guess we could go with her first name here being Clara if we're going literally again. I don't know. I feel like her name's gonna be something totally not any of these things. It's gonna be like, I don't know. What's a random name? Geraldine. Geraldine Afton. It's not a theory, it's just what I would love to hear. So Scott, if you're watching this, maybe we can have her be Geraldine Afton. Thank you. What are your favorite Mrs. Afton theories? Who do you think is Mrs. Afton? Is she someone that we haven't met yet? Is she even a real person? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. This has been Top 10 Gaming and I am your host Amanda McKnight, reminding you as always to keep on gaming on. Pew pew!